Evergreen generates its reports into spreadsheets. You need to know how to use a spreadsheet, but once you do, you'll find that the reports become very flexible and very powerful to use. So let's teach you the basics on reports. First of all, everything in a spreadsheet is in a cell. I'm clicking on a single cell. Cells can have text. Cells can have numbers. Notice the text typically aligns to the left. Numbers typically align to the right in a cell. Or they can have formulas. To select, a single cell, we simply click on it. There, we can click on it. To select a range of cells, we click on the first cell, in the middle, not on the edge, and we just drag our mouse. That's a range. A range could be one single cell, two cells, or a whole lot of cells. Okay. Cells are arranged in rows. You notice the numbers down. You can have up to 1,000,000 rows, and they're arranged in columns. Across the top, the capital letters, those are called column headers. These are called row headers. We can select an entire column by simply clicking on its header. This is all of column C. We could select an entire row by clicking on the row header. This is row 5. Just like we selected multiple cells by pressing and dragging, we can select multiple columns. Click in the middle and drag across. That's multiple columns. And obviously I can do the same thing with the numbers to select multiple rows. At this point, I can delete these, I can insert new things, etc. Most reports come with information at the top. These are called row labels, column labels. And this is title, this is author, this is status, etc. all the way across. Typically it comes unformatted. We format it, we simply collect it, select all the items, and then we'll go to Format, Cells, and we can change the font. We might change the color. We might change its orientation. We might put a border around it, etc. Okay, one last thing that we can do as we scroll up and down, often we'll lose this top one, so what we can come is we can go up here and we can go to View, Freeze Panes, Freeze First Row, so that when we scroll, we no longer lose them. Okay? All of that works. Sometimes we may need to insert we need to not want to see a column. For instance, in this particular record, we don't need to see the record ID. If I select the entire column and I go to Format, Columns, Hide, it's gone. Now I have column F, column H, column G is still there. If I want it back, I'll just select over it, Format, Columns, Show, and I've got them back. Okay, that's basically the basics that you need to be working with. One more thing, I guess, to show you is that you can make columns wider or narrower. Obviously, this first column for the title is too short. There are 3 ways, at least 3 ways, that you can make this bigger or smaller. The simplest way is to take your mouse and hover over the cell, the header, and move it slowly, and not pressing, until it comes to the line between them. When you get that double arrow, press and hold and drag the mouse to make it as wide as you want. Now, this spreadsheet has got a lot of rows, thousands probably, and what we can do, the second way to make columns wider is we can make it as wide as the widest cell in this column. So let's do that for the author. And I press, instead of dragging this, I'll just double click it. And voila, somewhere in here we have an author that goes that far. We don't need it that wide, so we'll make it smaller. The third way is to select this and go to columns, go to format, columns, width, and we can make it however wide we want. So let's making them wider or shorter. Once we get this, the fun part of working with Excel is to be able to do things like sort and get summaries. In this case, let's sort this by author. What we do is select any cell, doesn't make a difference where, in the column that we want to sort, and we go to the data menu. Data, and we'll go to sort. And we have up to 3 choices. Author. If I pull the drop down, I can sort by any one of these columns. We'll sort by author. And voila. The entire thing is now sorted by author, as you see. We can go a step further. Data, sort. First by author, then by title. And now for every author, we have an author here, this one more, here we go. Ansel Adams, these 2 are arranged in order. Okay, so sorting is pretty straightforward. I want to sort by this date. So I'll go to data, sort, and I will pick the date, ascending, the oldest to the first, to the newest. And so we have some things in here that are pretty old, but you get the notion of sorting. Very straightforward. Now, the really fun part of working with spreadsheets is when you want to get summaries. For instance, we have a location here. I want to know, first of all, how many different locations. Here's biography, here's literature, here's the glass case, here's stacks. How many different of these are there? And then I want to know how many of each there are. So what I do is I create what's called a pivot table, a fancy word, meaning just give me a summary. The data menu, and here I want to create a pivot table. Create one. Current selection. Notice everything behind it got blue. I select the current selection, which is everything, as long as I just clicked in one cell. And up comes this little table. Over here are all of the column headers. And we were interested in location. We're going to put those in the rows. And then we're going to say for locations, I want to know in the data fields, this will give me a sum. I don't really want a sum, I want a count. So I'm going to double click this, and up comes count. And then I'm going to do one more thing. I'll click options, and I'll enable the drill down. And now I have all of my locations, and not counting column 1, I've got 27 minus 1. I have 26 different locations in this library, and this is the number in each. Okay. You can do these pivot tables for virtually anything. To edit this one, I will click on a cell, right click, edit the layout, and instead of location, why don't we click on type? And we'll just get rid of that. Come over here. I just deleted that. Instead of the sum of type, we'll just get a count of type. Notice all the other things we could do with it. And we'll get rid of this. Get rid of this. And voila. These are in the mark record. that many type A, C, E, etc. in our 13,000 records. Pivot tables are extremely powerful, and they give you the summaries of the data that you need. So that's a quick introduction to spreadsheets, at least as practiced on LibreOffice. We're happy to help anytime. Give me a call. Thanks.